I was doing a little math, doing a little research.
It's tough.
Got up my TI-83 calculator, right? Looking some shit up. And it's kind of depressing. Let's take a hard look at our defense. So when Josh McDaniels and Patrick Graham came to the Raiders, these were the four things I thought they'd focus on. And I don't remember, but I think we agreed that these would be the four priorities. If let me get through it. You tell me if it was something different or if you remember differently. I thought we agreed on what we need to work on.
Okay.
Points per game. That's the obvious one. That's the only stat that matters, right? Sacks. Need more sacks. Takeaways. Seemed like a very Patrick Graham thing. And the red zone defense was the worst red zone defense in football last season. So I thought, not that it's like Patrick Graham's specialty, but it's like he has to be thinking about that, right? This is like what do you need to work on? Where they're the worst, the 32nd out of 32 in red zone defense. That's going to be something they're going to work on, right? So those are the four things that I thought would be their priority. Is that what you thought would be their priority?
Those are the things that we discussed, yes.
Okay. Anything else that you thought they'd really focus on? I mean, obviously everything, right?
Yeah,
There's a big like fundamentals and stuff like that. But I thought like, all right, the four, not stats, but like numerical elements that you can gauge would be those four things: points per game, sacks, takeaways, red zone.
Yeah, I mean, third down conversion against it was something that we saw it. I mean, there was no better example of how poor we did last year as against the Chargers at the last game of the regular season, where they were just converting fourth down after fourth down after fourth down.
The third down percentage was pretty good. We did a lot of third zone stops, but we gave up all the fourth down ones.
Fourth down ones were god awful, bro.
It was like one of our best third down performances ever. The problem is
we're stopping them all day
every time.
They kept converting the fourth.
If it was the Canadian Football League, we would have blown them out, right?
Yeah,
If it was three downs, we would have won by double digits. So I went and did the math on our five opponents so far: Chargers, Cardinals, Titans, Broncos, Chiefs. The offensive averages for those five teams: points per game, sacks given up per game, and giveaways per game. The averages of those five teams, and I compared them to those numbers against the Raiders. And it's bad.
Yeah, I could see that.
Now, in some of these, and a lot of them, the numbers are close, but I think there's only one instance in those five games and in those three stats where the Raiders defense performed better than their opponent's average.
And it wasn't by much.
And it wasn't by much. So the Chargers averaged 23.5 points per game. We gave up 24 against them. Loss. They give up 1.2 sacks per game, which is awesome. Like, that's a really good number. We got no sacks against them. They give away 0.8 giveaways per game. We got no takeaways. So that sacks was a big one. Got none. And so we were our defense performed worse than their average. Cardinals. Real bad. They averaged 19 points per game. They put up 29 on us. They averaged 2.3 sacks given up per game. We got one, less than half. This is a win for us. They're pretty good about controlling the ball, about not giving the ball away. They average 0.8 giveaways per game, and we got that one interception. So that was a little win there, right? But that points per game, they got 10 more against us than their average points per game.
That's tough.
Titans, 19.2 points per game. They put up 24 on us. Sacks, they give up 2.4 per game. We only got one. Giveaways, 1.2 per game. We got one. Real bad. Broncos, they average 15.2 points per game. That's last in the NFL. Worst offense in the NFL. 15.2 points per game. They put up 23 on us.
Hung into a deuce trade. Hung Michael Jordan on us.
We still won, but they got that was their season high in points was against us. It was a season high in points for the Cardinals as well.
The hell you say?
They give up 3.3 sacks per game, and we got 3. So close, but still less. And they give up 1.2 takeaways per game. We got 1 turnover. Chiefs, they put up 29.8 points per game. That's the most points per game in the NFL. And we were pretty close. They put up 30 on us. So only 0.2 more.
Pretty
but
much
still,
the same.
Pretty much the same. Now, this was a win for us. They only give up 1.8 sacks per game, and we got 3.
Ooh.
So that was a big win for us. Like Maxx Crosby.
That was our win. That was
our big statistical win. And they give up they give up 1 takeaway per game, and we got 0. So in all those stats, it was either they crushed us or it was super, super close, minus Maxx Crosby had a good sack game against the Chiefs. So those 5 teams, Chargers, Cardinals, Titans, Broncos, Chiefs, all their offenses performed above average in the 3 categories we thought were most important: points per game, sacks, and giveaways. They all performed above average against the Raiders, with like 1 minor exception. That's bad. And 2 of them put up their season high in points against the Raiders. The Raiders are 28th in scoring defense, 22nd in yards per play allowed, and 29th in defensive total expected points added, all according to True Media, right? So those are the 3 of the 4, right? This isn't even the worst part of the defense, Soto. Like, we still haven't even gotten to the worst part of the defense.
I'm just sitting back waiting for it.
So last year, the Raiders were last in red zone defense, giving up touchdowns. Opposing offenses, when they got into the red zone, they scored touchdowns 77% of the time. Over 3 out of 4 trips to the Raiders' red zone turned into a touchdown. Last in the NFL. So I thought, all right, Patrick Graham, Josh McDaniels, they're going to work on that. They're going to make it better. They're worse. 82.35% of the time, an opposing offense goes into the Raiders' red zone, they score. They were last in the NFL last season at 77%, and they're last this season and it's 5% worse.
Yeah,
the 4 things we thought that Patrick Graham, Josh McDaniels, and this coaching staff and team would focus on, they're worse at all 4 and atrocious. They managed to go from last to even worse last in red zone defense. There is a major problem brewing with this defense, Soto.
Yeah, there's a lot more problems that we're seeing.
Second worst is Detroit at 68.
Yeah. There's a lot of problems brewing with this team, and it does start with the defense. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, if you don't score touchdowns in the red zone and you give up too many scores in the red zone and you can't get teams off the field on 3rd down, you're not going to win very many games, and we haven't. So Patrick Graham runs a very specific system. That's what he likes. That's what he knows. And that's what he teaches. Mm-hmm. When you get a team full of players who weren't all that great to begin with, but were better suited for a different scheme, you get those mixed match players like Jonathan Abram, like a Denzel Perryman. Like, those guys are not really fit for the defense that Patrick Graham runs. Mm-hmm. And you got to have some faith if you're Josh McDaniels and if you're Dave Ziegler. Like, you have to have that faith that that Patrick Graham's going to get this done, and he's going to improve when you get the right players for his scheme. And it's not all about that, but we also talked about in the preseason about having those heady thinking players that can adjust to game plans week to week. That seems to be a little bit much for this team defense early on.
We thought we were getting, because you're going from Gus Bradley, who's probably the most bland's the wrong word, but probably the most basic defensive coordinator in the NFL. Like, there's probably no other defensive coordinator that's just like, this is what I do only than last season. Mm-hmm. And we thought we'd get opposite. We thought Patrick Graham's like, all right, he's a guy that, like, whatever you got, I can make it work. That's what he did in New York, right? They had basically 2 good corners and like 1 or 2 dudes on the line, and he cobbled together a pretty decent defensive scheme, and it was a defense that overperformed their talent. We thought, okay, that's what he'll do with the Raiders, right? We've got a couple, a superstar, a couple potentially brewing stars, but not a lot of talent. Patrick Graham's the guy that can make this work. And he made it worse than Gus Bradley. The defense is playing. It improved. Like, Maxx Crosby is better. Chandler Jones is multiple Pro Bowler. Like, all of our young players are all one season better. On paper, it's a better personnel than last season.
Older. I'm gonna say the one season better.
They should be one season better, right? And so, like, we did not get out of Patrick Graham what I thought. And you're right. Like, it's not a good defense personnel wise, but
it isn't. It really isn't.
Gus Bradley got more out of this defense than Patrick Graham, and that's real. This is the thing. At least with Gus Bradley, you knew what you were doing, right? And like the Andy Reids of the world will eat that apart. But at least with Patrick Graham, you're like, okay, keep everything in front of us. Down lineman, rush the passer. Don't give up big plays. We'll let offenses beat themselves. At least there was a philosophy that you can see that sometimes worked. With Patrick Graham, it's like, what is it? We're giving up big plays? Are we going to be like, okay, we're going to be, a turnover-based team? We thought that would be a big part, right? We get all these takeaways. We're not. Or it's like, all right, bend, don't break. Nope. We got even worse in the red zone. It's like, where is the strength of this defense? At least last year with Gus Bradley, like, we didn't give up big plays. We did not. People would pick us apart all day long, really good offenses, but we rarely gave up, a run that went for 60 or a pass that went for 50. That was pretty rare. This one, it's like, where's the strength? It's either Maxx Crosby single-handedly ends the drive or the offense beats themselves. Like, that's when our defense is successful, right? Either the opposing offense fucks up, penalty, bad throw, misses a block, whatever, or Maxx Crosby puts on the cape and does Superman. That's it. That's the basis of our defense.
Yeah, well, the thing is, as bad as our defense has played, we have been in every game. They have been one-score games. We had the ball 3 times with the opportunity to – actually, no. We had the ball with the opportunity to win the game every single time. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like it was out of reach and we scored late or whatever. We had the ball, driving, ability to win the game. So there is some – it is bad. I'm not going to say that it's not. They're performing poorly. But in the scheme of each game, if you take a look at each game, we've been in each game, and the outcome of the game hasn't been solely on the defense, but they do need to perform much better.
Like with the offense, I can point and see where the problems are and how to fix it, right? Complicated offense, it needs time. Offensive line, trash, got to scheme around it. Waller, Renfro keep getting hurt. They need to be healthy. Like, I can see, okay, here's the problems with our offense, and here's how it can improve, and here's how we can make up for it while we're waiting, right? Oh, all this shit's not working out. Run the ball more. Oh, Waller's missing. They're going to double. Waller's missing all these games. Let's go to Mac Hollins because they're doubling Hunter and Devontae, right? Like, there's like, okay, plan A is not working. B and C are working. Here's how we improve in the future. I can see the path to success for the offense. I don't know what that is for the defense. I don't know if it's like, oh, we just need a corner and we'll turn it around. Oh, we just need to get healthy and we'll turn it around. Like, oh, we just need the turnovers to go our way. Which I'm like, I don't know what I know what the offense needs to do. Mm-hmm. I have no clue how to fix this defense because there's nothing to build on. There's no, like, the fundamentals are bad. Like, it's not even like a good fundamental team. It's not a team that like lives and dies by turnovers. Like, there's no one strength. It's just sometimes, basically Maxx Crosby's playing like a defensive player of the year nominee. Yeah. And he's not going to get it because great defensive players don't get that award on bad defenses. Like, this defense is going to rob Maxx Crosby a defensive player of the year award.
So let me ask you a question. Who are the 5 best players on our offense?
Devontae. Well, okay. In general or this season? It's like, do you count Waller?
No, this season. Just in general. Like, in general. Putting together your team.
Career.
Yes.
Waller, Hunter, Jacobs, Devontae, Carr.
Okay, those are 5. Who are your 5 best players on your defense?
Maxx.
Exactly. You don't have the talent, RJ. There's no talent there. That's the main issue. We could shit on Patrick Graham all we want. making chicken salad out of chicken shit is a saying. You have to have talent. Every great coach who's out there will tell you, you win with talent. You coach that talent up, you put them in the positions, but Bill Belichick ain't winning, going into playoffs with that 0-16 Browns team or the 0-16 Lions team. You gotta have talent.
How much does it bother you? Like, how much blame should be on Patrick Graham that Gus Bradley fielded a better defense than Patrick Graham with less talent? I don't think this year's that much more talented than last season, but I think it's more talented. Like all the Hobbs is better, Maxx is better. It's not way better than last season. It's better than the personnel is better than last season, and the defense as a whole is worse. That should concern you about Patrick Graham. And again,
it is. I am
same thing with Josh McDaniels. I'm not saying fire him, right? It's 5 games, right? We're playing the long game with this new coaching staff. But in this 5 games,
not great.
He is getting less out of a more talented defense than Gus Bradley did. So you're right. Need more talent, unquestionably, and we know exactly where. But he's like Patrick Graham's supposed to be the guy that he can take spare parts and still build a machine like he did in New York. And so far, he ain't.
Those spare parts got to fit, man. That's a great analogy that you use, spare parts. They have to fit the engine that you're building. And a lot of these pieces just don't fit. So what I think the mistake was offensively and defensively was we expected too much out of these players to play a specific way when we can't play that way. We found out the last couple games before the
that's the cops coming to arrest Patrick Graham.
Yeah, right.
Us for the defense.
The last couple of weeks. Yeah, welcome to Long Beach, baby. The last couple of weeks, we've relied heavily on our run game. We've taken shots when they were there, and we've limited our exposure to turnover. We limited our exposure to negative plays, which is sacks. We don't throw the ball that much. We throw the ball shorter. We take the shots when the opportunity presents itself. We don't scheme those shots. They're there when the matchup is there, right? But you want to run and work your offense behind your running game. I think we have to do that defensively too. We have to identify where we're best, and we have to. And I think that's what's going to happen going forward. Is
where are we best? Because I'm down to be like when you look at the only undefeated college football team in Los Angeles, the UCLA Bruins, because the Trojans lost. Their defensive scheme is like, all right, we're going to be crazy on offense, and we're going to get turnovers. Like they give up a lot of yards, a lot of rush yards, a lot of pass yards.
A lot of
points, they get turnovers. A lot of points, right? But they get turnovers. And that's like, all right, our defense isn't great, but we're going to focus in on something that's going to be our core. And we're going to get turnovers. And they do, and they're undefeated, and it's awesome, right? The Raiders, it's like, what are we pushing all our chips into? It's like, all right, we're going to force everybody to pass because our run defense is so good. Oh, we're going to give up a ton of yards in between the 20s, but our red zone defense is so good. We're going to bend, not break. It's like, where is that? Like, where are we going to force the opposing offense to pivot? We don't have a single thing. It's scheme around Maxx. That's it. Like, that's all offensive coordinators have to worry about.
Let's start from the secondary in. Okay. Our secondary is god awful in zone coverage. Mm-hmm. I think we can agree on that. I think we're always like, why are we so soft? Like, why are we playing such soft coverage here? Why are these teams just digging and dunking down the field and going down the field on us, right? Like fucking Tannehill was looking like you said, Joe Montana, fucking hitting like his 5-6 yard fucking shot every shot, finding the hole in the zone coverage. We're not the best at that. We have to play more man coverage with the players that we have. The problem is you have a player like Jonathan Abrams, who doesn't play really well in man coverage. You have a player like Trevon Merrick, he's better as a center fielder than playing man coverage. And you have 2 linebackers like Diablo and Perriman who aren't great at man coverage. So you have to scheme around something where you play kind of a hybrid scheme. And that's where the self-scouting comes into play. We have to be tighter on the outsides, and we have to play more of a zone shell across the middle. I've seen teams do that against us. I've seen teams do that against the Chiefs. So that's what we have to do. And up front, we just got to pin our ears back and go, and not worry about, we'll tackle the runner on the way to the quarterback. That's gonna have to be. We have to take. Unfortunately, playing the way we're playing now, we're the worst team in the league giving up points. Like we can't play that way anymore. We have to be more aggressive. When we started blitzing more against the Chiefs is when we got more stops early in the game and then late in the game. People want to say, "Oh, you didn't get stops against the Chiefs, so your defense got to stop them." Well, we got a 3-score lead. We had to stop them sometime. We had to get. We failed on a 2-point conversion, and then we had the ball back with a chance to win the game. Guess what that means? That means we got to fucking stop, right?
Yeah.
And so we have to play to our strengths, which is aggressive attacking defense. Why did they change the fucking rules in the NFL? Because of the fucking Raiders secondary. They were in your pocket. They were fucking in your jock. They didn't let you breathe. They
punching you in the
beat
throat.
The shit out of you. They clotheslined you over the middle. Like, we have to be that within the confines of the rules, of course. But we have to get back to that style of defense. And if they fucking beat us deep, then fuck it, they beat us deep. At least we get the ball back with more time to score.
The only thing saving this defense is the Raiders' offense. The Raiders are 6th in points per game, and they're doing it now with ball control and just basically like, all right, our offensive line can't pass block. Our passing game isn't jiving. Waller can't stay healthy. Hunter can't stop getting concussions. Let's run the ball. And it's getting us points, and it's keeping the defense off the field.
Yeah.
That's basically how I look at it.
Yeah.
You just got to keep this defense off the field. Pray that Carlson can just keep cranking out 50-yarders, right? Get within field goal range, and play that style of football, because this defense, I don't, like I said at the very beginning, I know the path to success for this offense. I can see it. Everyone can see it. You don't have to be a super genius to know, like, oh, it needs time to develop, and this offensive line's got to gel. Like, okay, we got it. Defense, it's like, maybe your idea is right. I don't know. Like, I see no path to this defense being successful. The offense has to protect it, and so far they have 6 in points per game, and that time of possession is going to be big. Like, that's.
Look, with my severely concussed brain, I don't know how many freaking concussions I've had in my life. Quite a few, and pretty bad ones too.
Mostly from banging your head against the wall watching the Raiders play on Sundays.
Yeah. You know why? Rheumatoid. Do you have rheumatoid arthritis? You know how I know I have that, or ulcerative colitis? Is because I'm a freaking Raider fan. That's how I know I have colitis. Okay, if my brain could come up with something like on the fly. If that's your job, you can come up with something to be more. We can't be afraid to give up big plays, because we have to pressure and be aggressive to get more turnovers. We have to. Yeah. That's the way that the way we play offense. The best way for us to put pressure on the opposing offense is to score more points, right? And that's to get stops. We can't always rely on having them on stopping them to have a punt. We have to create turnovers, because teams have shown they can sustain drives against us. So we have to, either give ourselves more opportunities to score points, which is lengthen the game a little bit, which is if they score quicker, all right, whatever. That means we got to score. Let's go. Or stop them, take the ball away. Because this whole thing, just have them matriculate the ball down the field and score anyway, it's putting more pressure on our offense to score every single time they have the ball.
It's insane how we're 6th in points per game with how offenses can just move the ball at will against us and just like take their time. Like, it's a minor miracle that's the case. Congratulations for making it all the way to the end of our video. If you want Darren Waller to catch 20 touchdown passes next season and for Maxx Crosby to have 30 sacks, go ahead and subscribe and click the next video.